And we're rolling again, boo-boo. So, this time around, I want to discuss about something that is probably super obvious, but also probably not. So, lately, I've seen that there's this kind of a trend going on with people kind of going around and measuring different strength indicators, how much back pressure this guy has versus the other guy has, how much of a riser he has, how much of a cupping he has in terms of actual weight that they can lift with the cables and whatever, how much they can supinate, how much they can pronate, and so on and so forth. Side pressure and all of those things. And to me, this goes hand in hand with the age-old debate, discussion, whatever. You know what I'm talking about is the thing with is arm wrestling mostly about technique or strength? I don't want to dive too deep into that thing because it's been discussed thousands of times. But in order to go to a related topic that is actually the topic for this video, I'll just quickly brush over it. So it is my belief also that unfortunately, and I changed this belief of mine, like probably many people did. Initially, I wanted to kind of like deceive myself and fool myself and have this delusion going on that in the end I can I can compensate for this severe strength gap just by being a technical guru, whatever. This doesn't happen. It is now my firm belief that indeed, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it and which type of guy you are, for me, probably it's unfortunately, but still I have to look at it with realistic eyes. And I have to say that arm wrestling is actually a strength sports first, and then the technique comes later, because we can just go to the very simplistic assumption of having like two extremes. One guy who's dead strong, but he's just kind of like a stupid or not so great arm wrestler, versus a guy who's like super technical but he's weak as fuck. Putting these two extremes on the table, one versus the other, the stronger guy will win probably 9 times out of 10. So in my opinion, the strength is kind of like the cake, and the technique is kind of like the cherry. Not to this ratio, so you can either consider that it's a smaller cake, so that the cherry is not that small compared to it, or you can just have it like a big ass cherry, or orange, or whatever the fuck you want to put on top of that cake of yours. But still, I would say that strength is really above 50% and technique is below 50%. Just like to get this thing over with. Now, going from like the strength versus technique into something a bit more it's different, but it's related, like I said. So strength versus technique, okay, we covered it, but strength versus combat sport. In my opinion, arm wrestling is really like I think Devin said it best, micro or miniature martial art. And for me, having background in all of those things, I can confirm probably a lot of you guys have the similar background. We've probably all been dabbling with several sports. We were not just born as arm wrestlers and that's it. We probably discovered arm wrestling probably even later than we discovered other sports like boxing or martial arts, or even other sports like football or basketball or whatever. So we have some sort of prior experience with things like these. So to me, arm wrestling, also in the name itself, it's wrestling. So it really looks like it looks like some type of wrestling, or judo or grappling type of things going on. And also we have a little bit of striking elements, although it's not with contact. It's more like wrist shocks and joint shocks and stuff like that. But still, here's where the technique from the other discussion comes in. Having still quite, such a big baggage of techniques and such almost endless possibilities of attacks and counters and defenses and so on and so forth. The offense versus the defense. It is really like a combat sport. So that being said, I think it should not be neglected, first of all, as a combat sport, where again, even in the real combat sports, like the full combat sports with boxing, martial arts, and all those other things, again, you can ask the same things. Is strength more important than technique or whatever? It's debatable. Whether you take like a Shaolin monk or like some beast all jacked up on steroids and whatever. Sometimes, yeah, the skill will prevail, but sometimes if the gap is so big, it's just gonna be like a Hulk smash type of situation. So yeah, unfortunately, there's this reality to it. But here's the thing that I really wanted to get to, and it's 6 minutes, close to 7 into the video, and I'm just now cutting to the chase. The idea that obsesses me is, lately I see all of these metrics being done. How much does this guy pull? How much does that guy pull? And whatever. And we have these standards with these standard exercises, and also we're trying to make it even more replicable, if I can say so, by using the same types of handles, like for example the Mazurenko handles and whatever, or just like the multi-spinners and stuff like that. Well, here's the thing. Looking at some of the greatest arm wrestlers ever, with John Brzenk being at the top of the list, his gym numbers, as he can probably tell you himself, are probably shit compared to some of these other guys. However, look at his accomplishments at the table. Therefore, how much does the strength-specific exercises, how much do these things translate onto the table? It's debatable. So see, I'm going from like my first statement where I said that I agree that arm wrestling is primarily a strength activity. Not primarily, but at least 51 versus 49%, if you will, or whatever other ratio you want to have. But I would still give the upper hand for the strength aspect. But now, on the other hand, I'm trying to tell you that just if it's not arm wrestling specific applications, and it's things that we just think or hope that they would translate on the table, it's not really like that, because I see all of these guys now measuring their performance on how much they can move in terms of weight, but then you put them on the table and the reality is very different. And not only this, but unfortunately what kind of pisses me off is that nowadays people kind of tend to judge and estimate and kind of make predictions based on what they see with these lifts. Essentially, they're just lifts. So they look at how much guys are progressing, and now they're just like, wow, I increased my lift by 30%. Imagine the gap that I managed to close in on the table, and imagine the smashing I'll be doing in my upcoming match or whatever. This rarely works like this. I mean, yeah, if you have two guys who kind of like have a baseline and you knew how well they fared against one another, and you knew how much they can lift with those exercises, and now you see that one of them really out progresses the other one. Now you have a lot of factors that can go into the equation, and now you can say that at least, seeing this guy going really forwards while the other guy is not really progressing that much, or even, who knows, regressing. Yeah, you could somehow, say that this makes a little bit more sense, just because like you have, you have three other metrics, and this one is like the fourth that just kind of correlates with the other ones. But overall, comparing a guy who does not train like this, never did, and this is not one of his daily activities, versus, yeah, I'm kind of doing this like he's drinking. You get what I'm saying. Versus a guy who primarily focuses on these lifts, and they have an upcoming match. Might also be the case that it's their first match ever, which is making the situation even more ridiculous. Like, you should really refrain from making such assumptions, or any, assumptions for that matter. It's actually a lot better if you just compare, or predict their match results based on previous opponents that they faced, and probably they have some some opponents that were the same for both of them, and you can base a lot more. You can judge a lot. You can judge a lot more things based on those aspects, as compared to the lifts, which are very poor indicators in my opinion. And also, one of the final foods for thought. In this case, why do we have arm wrestling where there's two guys on the table? If all we care about is the metrics and the numbers, in the end, let's just make a separate category, a separate sport, where we have these lifts that can become like Olympic lifts, Olympic style lifts, just like in powerlifting. So there's nothing, in my opinion, that stops us from adding, alongside the deadlift and bench press and squat and all of those things. There's nothing that stops us from extending those things with just raw sheer power. Just guys that want to test their strength, and they want to test themselves against the competition, with just how much of a back pressure they have going into their lats or wrist or whatever. Wrist exercises, cupping, rising, supination, pronation, all of those things. Side pressure also. So we can make dedicated exercises for these things where you don't need a partner. But other than this, then why would you need a partner if all you care about is just how much you lift? In the end, that should just be like a preparatory, stepping stone towards what happens on the table. And for a lot of these guys who, like I've said, they've been reigning supreme for decades, gym work was actually not even ever a thing. They were probably just doing it every now and then, like with weeks or even months in between, without even thinking about these. These were like the my previous analogy with like the cake and the cherry. This time around, it's a really fucking small cherry. It's like a fucking raisin. So yeah, and the cake is like an XXL cake. So let me know what you guys think. In my opinion, it's a bit funny, like down into the ridicule side of things, that we have become so obsessed with numbers in the gym with these exercises. These exercises have been around for decades. Obviously, I'm not discarding that, but all of a sudden they were brought into the spotlight with guys now just outdoing their gym lifts. Nothing wrong with that. I actually admire those things, because, for example, at least I like I said in one of my past videos with the grippers, if I won't have any chances to becoming like anything significant in arm wrestling, not to mention world champion or whatever, which probably I'll never be. At least I have something that I can do individually, and I can track my progress, and it's very scientific, and the metrics are very objective. So with the grippers, at least I can just hope to work my way around, and who knows, probably one day to at least close the number 3, which is amazing. And you can get certified, Guinness World Record, whatever. It gives you something to look for, despite the fact that you kind of know you won't be doing anything in arm wrestling. Same with these things. If you know, if I know, if we know that we won't be doing anything significant in arm wrestling, which is a very complex sport, like I just discussed for the past 15 minutes, at least you can hope to be like the best guy who can strict curl, or just have the biggest back pressure, or the hardest and toughest fucking wrist in terms of 1 or 2 or 3 exercises or whatever. At least you can be happy that you're approaching, I don't know, name your hero, you're approaching this guy's numbers on one of those lifts. At least that can keep you happy and satisfied in the absence of any significant arm wrestling achievements. Because you've realized by now that although you're approaching his numbers or matching his numbers or even exceeding his numbers, as soon as the two of you go on the table, it's game over for you. So I have no problem. Please continue doing these. Maybe I'll start also doing these things just to see where I'm at, although I know where I'm at. I'm very far away, so that's why I'm not that interested at this point, but who knows what will happen in the future. But yeah, let's not get too sidetracked from what real arm wrestling is about, because first of all, it involves 2 people actively pulling, despite the referees and whatever. So there's a reason for that, right? It's a very complex art form. It's a combat sport, in my opinion. Heavy aspects of the combat sports are present in arm wrestling. So don't just make the mistake of thinking that being the strongest is going to get you the win. Although, like I said in the beginning, also you should not be delusional thinking that you can compensate with technique for the lack of strength if the gap is anywhere near a significant one. So yeah, you just have to keep yourself in check and not to fall down the delusional path, which is a very slippery slope for all of us. I guess it's in our nature to try to cling to the things that are realistic, hoping that we would erase a sadder and more sad reality that is knocking on our door, but we don't want to let it in, and we're trying to stay focused on our strengths rather than acknowledging our weaknesses and the tremendous gap that exists between us and the elite, or if you're at the elite level, between you and the other guy who's even more of an elite, if you will. But yeah, I'll be ending my rant here, so let me know what you guys think about this thing. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, dislike, but if you dislike, like I always say, please tap that button just more than once, so do it twice in order to make sure it has a successful effect or whatever. Other than this, subscribe, unsubscribe, like, share, troll, hate, I don't care, as long as we engage in some meaningful and friendly conversation and civilized conversation. So keep it friendly, guys, and I'd really like to hear what your thoughts on this subject are. So until next time, I'm out. Bye. Let's try to close it from the first try. So, yeah.